Hi everybody. Thank you so much for joining my session. I know there's a million, so it seems, incredible sessions today, and I've blocked my whole calendar off myself, so I'm excited to pop into the other ones today as well. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm incredibly honored to be part of this along the lineup that you have in front of you today. So many incredible speakers, so many incredible women and business owners, and I just want to say, like, my heart is incredibly heavy after the last week. And I'm in Los Angeles, and, a lot of the protests and uprising, we're not saying riot anymore, we're saying uprising, is happening super close to where I live. And so it's been an emotional last week, but definitely this weekend. So initially I was kind of in the place of like, do we still do this? Like, does this feel right? And I think it is the right decision to continue on, because so much of feeling out of control and disenfranchised comes from, I think, a lack of having personal knowledge and expertise in an area where you can really take control of your life through running a business, or through learning as much as you can to better yourself. And so I think this is a good start. It by no means fixes things, and it by no means takes away from the inequality in this country, but I think it does help. So I'm proud and honored to be here today alongside so many other women. So thank you for joining. And I will say this: collaboration is one of those things that, of course, can help you grow your business. Like, that's what I've done for the last almost 4 years, both for myself and for countless clients, but it also can help save the world. My new tagline is collaboration can save humanity. And I fully believe that. I think when we combine forces and our resources and help amplify each other's voices and work together, we can achieve incredible things. So a lot of what I'm going to say today can be translated to so many other areas, not just marketing. Collaboration or innovation through collaboration, social impact through collaboration, evolution through collaboration are all very real possibilities. So I hope you can take some of the things I say today and apply them in other areas of your life to succeed at whatever it is you're trying to do. So I do want this to be super interactive as much as possible. And I have a roadmap for what I'm going to talk about today, but by all means, if I say something that you want clarity around, or if an idea pops up and you have a question about it, or you want to run it past me, by all means, throw it in the chat and it will get to me and we will talk about it. So let's get started. So first and foremost, I am Baily. I'm a collaboration consultant who works with individuals, organizations, and companies to help them pretty much achieve their goals through collaboration. So what that means in practice is I help people think collaboratively and look at all the goals in their life, mostly their business, and think what of these goals can be better achieved by partnering with others. So that's the angle we're going to take today. I started my business in October of 2016, and I have yet to pay a single penny for marketing. In those last 3.5 years, it's been all through collaboration that I've started the business and then grown it and continued to maintain my community. So hopefully what I say today will be helpful for you. I'm interested, and if you wouldn't mind popping it into the chat, who here is an entrepreneur? Or I guess I should say, who isn't an entrepreneur? Just sort of let me know like what the makeup of this group is, because that'll help me sort of shift my conversation as well. I'm assuming that a lot of people are wanting to start a business, since that's in the title of this session, but I don't want to make too many assumptions. So tell me in the chat, are you an entrepreneur? Are you starting a business? Let me know. And if you're not that, tell me why you're here. Not an entrepreneur. So if you're not an entrepreneur, I would just love to know what brought you to this session. Okay, we've got some partnerships people. You also have 2 companies, managed partnerships, workshops, amazing. Okay, so there's some partnerships people who work for companies. Cool. Awesome. So keep it going in the chat, and I'll keep a quick eye on that as you guys are adding them in. Okay. So why collaborate in your business? First and foremost, I think that's an important question to answer. So I think one of the biggest reasons collaboration is so effective at helping people grow their business is you gain credibility through collaboration. So what that means is, by partnering with a well-aligned community who share an overlapping mission, vibe, and audience, which we'll talk about in a little bit from now, you basically get to leverage the trust that that community, individual, or brand has already built with their community. So I liken it to being in high school when you sit at a cafeteria lunch table. you are automatically sort of lumped in with whoever you're sitting with, right? For better or worse. So when your mom would tell you like, well, you know, be careful who you surround yourself with, it's incredibly true. And it's definitely true in business as well. So I like to think of it as sitting at the lunch table that you want to be associated with. That's kind of the same thing as collaboration. And I realized like I have a few examples in here and they're all very high school related for some reason. But we'll get to that. So first and foremost, credibility through collaboration. People's automatic default is sort of distrust. So if you think about any time you're promoted a product or a service, be it a promoted post or a sponsored message or anything like that, even a banner ad, you inherently are sort of distrustful of it. You're like, well, what do you want from me? So I know you're selling something to me. Do I trust this? Do I know you? Who are you? What are your motives? Do you just want my money? But when you see a promotion that comes through a collaboration, so from a community that you know and trust, it feels entirely different. Right? So the person that is collaborating with the community that you know and trust is getting to leverage the trust that that person or that community has built with you over time because they're vouching for them essentially. So when I partner with somebody, let's say Start From Scratch Summit, you can tell that Rochelle, who put this whole thing together, has vouched for me. Rochelle actually saw me speak at a Create and Cultivate South by Southwest pop-up 3 years ago now. And I had never heard from her since. And then about 3 months ago, she emailed me and was like, hey, I would love to have you speak at my conference. So it also just goes to show you that people are always growing their community and their network, whether you realize you're part of that or not. So I think that's an important thing to remember when we get to talking about how to find partners. They're always around you. And you might not realize like you're a candidate for somebody's future partnership. You might just not know it. So always be good to the people that you meet and always leave a good impression and hopefully be kind to whoever you meet because you never know what will come back around. So by Rochelle inviting me to speak at this conference, she's automatically telling all of you, trust Baily because I trust Baily. So I'm not having to come in here proving my case and being like, well, here's why you should listen to me. I promise, like I know what I'm talking about because that was the trust that she afforded me by putting me on the billing. So credibility through collaboration is huge. The next main reason to collaborate to grow your business is to amplify your message. It is one thing to have an incredible business or an amazing offering or a great event or a fantastic, well-engaged community. And it's quite another for other people to find out about it. And I know in the beginning when you're first launching a business, it can feel really frustrating because you spend a lot of time building the product or the website or getting the social channels together. Oh, I think somebody's not muted. If we could just, I'm going to mute everybody. There we go. So in the beginning, I think so many of us focus most of our efforts on creating the thing, which is absolutely important and you totally should. But I think a lot of people get wrapped up in having the perfect website or, you know, the perfectly curated social channels and Instagram feeds and all of that, the best branding, the best logo, but none of that really matters if people don't know about you. So I'm always a big proponent. I tell my clients all the time, like, progress over perfection, done is better than perfect. Get the thing out into the world and then start telling people about it so that you can start iterating and perfecting it from there. But if people don't know what you do, then all that perfection is kind of for nothing. So when you partner with others, with well-aligned communities who share an overlapping mission, vibe, and audience to you, you're able to amplify whatever message it is that you're trying to get out into the world. So for me, my message is collaboration can save humanity. I mean, that's not what it was in the beginning, but that's certainly what it's evolved to become. And that's another thing I want to point out quickly. When you're building a business, we often think we have to have the perfect tagline, the perfect logo, the perfect everything to start. That stuff's going to change. It's going to change constantly. And it should, because you learn as you go and you discover what really resonates with your community and your audience. And you should be changing as you go. My tagline, my bio, my title has stayed collaboration consultant since the beginning. But what I say after that, you know, I fill in the blank, has changed 2 million times. So again, done is better than perfect. But when you partner with others, essentially what you're doing is holding a megaphone up to the other one, giving them a platform, giving them a stage to the people that you have built trust with, and let them have that megaphone and that microphone so that their message can get to more people. So credibility through collaboration and amplifying your message. The third main reason to collaborate is to grow your community. So I used to think that collaboration was how you brought in more revenue. And it definitely is, but it's sort of a longer game than that. Now I realize collaboration is what brings people to the party. So this was my second high school analogy. So by collaborating, you're essentially planning this huge party. I picture high school, like every high school movie, Can't Hardly Wait, all of them, right? They all have that scene where they're at some poor kid's house whose parents are out of town and it's out of control. The cops come, shenanigans ensue. But if you think about it, like for every party like that, there's billions of parties that are just the four friends that knew about it to begin with and nobody else is there. So of course, finding a middle ground between those two versions of a party is important. But when you think about the party as, say you're the one planning it, and you're like, all right, I want this party to be the thing that people remember about senior year of high school. I want the right people there. I want memories to be made. I want it to be fun. You start spreading the word to the right people, right? You tell the kids that are sort of the leaders of each of the groups, like, hey, I'm having a party. You should come. You should invite so-and-so. And, you know, again, you can plan this incredible party. You can have all the punch and all the snacks and all the music and all of the lighting and all of that you want. But if nobody comes, then what was it for? So by getting the message to the right people, you're able to fill the party with the right human beings. Now, here's a very important caveat that has kind of come to me in the not so distant past. You can plan an amazing party and have a ton of people come. That's not necessarily going to mean they'll have a good time. They're going to have a good time. And how this relates to entrepreneurship is I've had clients who they've put a lot of effort into marketing their business. They've collaborated, they've grown their communities like crazy, but then sometimes the communities don't convert. And I think there's a big missing piece between getting the word out and converting people to customers. And that's not the piece that collaboration solves, right? So this was sort of a good, important come to Jesus moment for me with collaboration, because for a long time I was like, collaboration brings you revenue. It's not true. Collaboration fills the party. Collaboration gets people to your space. It gets people to your site. It gets people to your community, to your newsletter, to your email list, to your podcast. But you still have to have something that is going to resonate with people and make them want to learn more. Okay, so I think that's important to say, because a lot of times people think collaboration can be the end all be all marketing strategy, and it simply isn't. It's a way to get people to the party. It's a way to get people to learn about you, but there's still that missing special something that has to convert people over to becoming a paid client. I want to see what Brianna said here. She said, it's like when people unsubscribe from your newsletter. That's not always a bad thing. They weren't meant to be at your party. Exactly. I used to get so heartbroken when people unsubscribed from my newsletter. It was like this masochistic thing. Every time I sent one out, I would go see who unsubscribed. Oh, that is terrible. Like, that's the worst thing you can do to yourself. Now I look at it as like, okay, great. They're self-selecting. You know, they got to the party, they looked around, they're like, not my vibe. And then they left. And to be honest with you, I kind of appreciate that more than somebody sitting on my newsletter, taking up space, counting as a number, and then never opening it or never clicking on anything. Like, that's almost more depressing, because then you're like, what am I doing wrong? As opposed to if they get there and they're like, you know what, not for me. Bye. Thanks for inviting me, but I'm going to head to somebody else's party. So I'm sharing this with you because this is something that really did recently come to me, and it sort of changed my entire perspective on what collaboration can be for entrepreneurs. You are getting people to the party. What happens next is a whole different ballgame. So I will say that. But in the last 3.5 years since I started my business, I have gotten so many people to my party. And you know why? Because I found the right people. I found the right leaders in my high school, if we're going to stick with that analogy, who have access to all these different communities of people who I would love to be at my party. And of course, I want them to stay there. I want people to engage with me. I want people to become clients. I want people to spread the word about what it is that I do, but only if they're the right people. So collaboration is beautiful because if you do it properly, if you find partners the right way, which we'll talk about in a minute, you increase the likelihood that you're going to get those right people to your community. And what happens from there, again, is the next step. But it can be incredibly fun. I think if it's not fun, you're doing something wrong. When I started my business, all I knew how to do was grow community with partnerships. My background is in events. I did marketing for many, many years. I worked at General Assembly when it launched in Los Angeles in January 2014. I was the very first campus marketing producer there. And they told me when I got hired that it was my job to pass out the Kool-Aid and get people to ask for seconds. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And literally, like, my whole job was to tell as many people in LA that GA existed and get them to come to campus, but then give them such a good experience that they wanted to come back and they hopefully wanted to become students. And the way that I chose to do that was by opening our doors and giving our space to well-aligned communities who needed a venue for events. And in the beginning, it was just a strategy I used because we had such crazy targets. Like, they wanted me to grow our email newsletter at insane rates, you guys. It was not realistic at all. But you know what? In the beginning, I was able to do it. And it was because, wait, oh my God, that's so funny. Yay, Brianna has my old job at Austin. Yeah, I was the very first campus marketing producer for any General Assembly way back when, 6 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. But what I learned was all these other campuses were throwing their own events, and they were hustling so hard to try and get people to campus because they were hitting up their existing newsletter to promote it and like hoping that some new people would show up too. I saw that and was like, that is way too much work. Like, why am I running my own events, first of all, when there are so many people doing events in the city that just don't have a space to run them? So we had this gorgeous campus in Santa Monica, 1 block from the ocean, with great parking, which if you're from LA, screw it, any major city, parking sucks. Definitely in LA. So it was a huge draw. And people were like, wait, really? I can hold my event in your space? I'm like, absolutely. But here's what I need to get from it. I need people to know what General Assembly is when they walk in this building. It can't just be a nondescript place that they go to attend a panel. Like, they need to get it. They need to come in here and they need to understand. So we put a lot of things in place that help them get that even before they showed up. So one of the big things that we did was we would host registration for these events. So they had to be on our website, which meant people came to our site. They started to get familiarized with what we were and what our mission was and our vibe. And then by the time they came to campus, I always gave my like 1-minute spiel at the start of every single event that explained what GA was and where they were and how they could learn more. And so that was the agreement. And honest to God, guys, it was amazing. Like, people were looking at LA being like, what are you guys doing? Like, why is your email list growing so much faster than everybody else's? And I was like, I'm doing way less than you guys, and I'm helping our community. I'm helping people who are already putting on these incredible events and attracting exactly the right people for us, but I'm giving them a home. I'm giving them a place to do that. I'm bartering with them, our venue for their promotion. And that's what began it all for me. That's what helped me understand that this is an incredibly powerful marketing strategy to get the right people into your space, into your newsletter, into your party. So that's where it all began. And I realized I was doing it for almost no money. And I think that's the kicker here. Collaboration does not have to cost money. I have literally never spent a penny on marketing my business. I have grown an email list. I have grown my community. I've grown my social followings, and I've gotten so many clients and incredible people in my world now through collaboration without spending any money. And when you're starting a business or you're working for a startup, that is so crucial, because if you think that the amount of marketing spend you have is directly related to how many people you can bring into the community, you're sort of hamstrung right there. Like, your hands are tied. You can only spend so much. At GA in the early days, I think they let me spend maybe like $40 for every event. And we blew that on like beer and wine real quick. And that was back in the day when they used to let us buy beer and wine for partners. I don't think they let us do that anymore, but it was great. And it worked really well. I think I grew the email list from under 20K to over 80K in about a year. And it was all through these kinds of partnerships. And let me tell you, as the gatekeeper for General Assembly's campus, I was able to meet everybody in LA that was like at all involved in the tech business and design space. So my personal community grew like crazy because I was in the middle of a potential partnership opportunity with this company that had a great space in all of the communities. So it was so fun. I felt like my job was a joke because I loved it so much and I got to meet so many people, and I was helping small businesses and small communities achieve their goals, which felt very, very good. And I was hitting my goals. I was crushing everybody else in all of the contests and all of the KPIs. I was killing it. And so it is an amazing way to grow a community without spending any money. So for me, if you're out there and you're like, okay, cool, fine. How though? How do I do this? I get why. So for me, since I started my business, I have always loved to teach. So my collaboration opportunities have always evolved and revolved around what I call expertise for exposure. And that is where you share your knowledge and your experience in exchange for exposure and promotion to a well-aligned community. That's you guys. This is a perfect example of expertise for exposure in practice. So for me, if we break down this collaboration between me and the Start From Scratch Summit, I am bringing my knowledge on collaboration and entrepreneurship in exchange for exposure to every single one of you sitting in this Zoom room right now, right? You guys are winning because you're getting valuable content. Start From Scratch Summit's winning because they get a speaker, and I'm winning because I'm potentially meeting however many new BFFs to join my party. I won't be offended if my party's not the right fit for you, but if it is, come on in, girl, it's gonna be great. So that's how I've done it. Expertise for exposure has been something that I've promoted to my clients since the beginning, because first and foremost, we all have knowledge, we all have experience, we all have something to share, we all have a story. And if you're sitting there thinking, I mean, I can't teach, I can't speak, I can't be a podcast guest, I can't be on a panel, I can't write a guest post, I don't know enough yet. I hear this from a lot of my clients. I'm not ready enough, or like, I'm not successful enough, or like maybe when I'm in my late 30s or I'm in my 40s, I'll be whatever enough. And if you take anything away from this talk today, know that you are ready in some capacity. You are 5 to 10 years ahead of somebody, and that's what's important. And we all have something to share. Even if you're not the foremost thought leader or expert on something, you still have valuable information to share. And the trick and the magic is when you can share knowledge and experiences and expertise in something that then directly ties to the business that you're trying to promote. So for me, my knowledge that I'm sharing is on how to leverage collaboration to achieve your goals or to grow your business for free. And then the call to action is come join my party. And if this is something that you think can help your business, I'm here to help you. Sign on up. So when you can tie your knowledge and your experience and your expertise and your stories and your narrative to your call to action within your business, that is the perfect way to combine those things to hopefully grow that community. So in the last 4-ish years, not even quite, I've done probably 120 speaking gigs. I've been on panels. I've been on podcasts. I've written for blogs. I just had an article published for Create and Cultivate last week. Full circle moment, by the way. Like I'm speaking to you right now because I spoke at South by Southwest, their pop-up, Create and Cultivate's pop-up 3 years ago, and then just published an article with them last week. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Like when you find a good partner who helps you achieve your goals, stick with them, like stay close, keep finding ways to collaborate and finding new ways to touch base with each other so that you can hopefully keep achieving your goals. And I have no doubt that, you know, Rochelle and I will stay in touch from here on out, and I will bring her in on something later. So partnerships can be a lifelong thing, just like friendships, just like any relationship. So definitely, you know, partnership and relationship karma is super real. So if you can remember to always be a good person, do what you say you're going to do, don't overpromise, underdeliver, people will remember that and they'll want to keep having you come back for more, and vice versa. So that is how I've done it. I started a Facebook group, I guess it's been about 1.5 years ago, called the Collaboration Coalition. And it began with just, I don't know, my existing community, past clients, things like that. Yay, Shelby wants to stay at my party. I'm so excited. And the Collaboration Coalition Facebook group, it was like this thing that I was like, okay, I should have a place for people to gather and hopefully learn to collaborate from me and then go ahead and collaborate with each other. And in the beginning, it was very small. And then this year alone, I've done 26 expertise for exposure type things. So speaking, teaching, writing, being on podcasts, you name it. I think 19 or 20 of those have been just since mid-March when all this pandemic world sort of took place. And initially I was feeling kind of down about it because entrepreneurs are my primary client and we're all kind of hurting right now. We're all feeling lost and confused and scared to spend money. I'm in that camp as well. So my business itself has slowed a lot. And when I was getting really down about that, I looked around and I was like, wait, but what about my community? What about my party? My Facebook group has gone from like 300 or 400 people at the beginning of the year to almost 900 people now. My my email list has grown significantly. I've also had a lot of unsubscribes, which again, used to break my heart. Now I'm like, cool, bye. I don't have to pay for your spot on my email list. I'm not the right place for you, and that's okay. And so despite the fact that clients are not converting at the rate that they used to right now, there's so much outside of all of our control. I'm continuing to show up and collaborate with the right communities, put my message out there, invite people to my party, and continuously, do that and not get down about the fact that it's just not working the way that it used to. So I highly recommend expertise for exposure, especially in the beginning. If you can think about, what is it that I have to share with the world? What is my message? What is the thing that I could talk about for days on days on days and not get sick of it? That's your thing. And if you can tie that to your call to action for your business, you have a perfect, easy way to start collaborating. P.S. I've sort of just been talking a lot for the last 30 minutes. So if anything is coming up, if you want to share anything, you have any questions, please, please, please add those to the chat, because I want to make sure that I'm covering things that you guys are super interested in. But I will keep going. So when you're starting to think about how to collaborate in your business to grow it without spending any money, I think first things first, you need to think about, why do you want to collaborate? What are the goals that you're hoping to achieve through collaboration? So if it's you're trying to grow your email list, or you're trying to grow a Facebook community, or you're trying to get new listeners for a podcast, you're trying to get attendees for an event series, whatever it is. Sorry, I want to read what Brianna said. Yes, please connect with me. Definitely find me on LinkedIn. Just spell Baily right, Baily, and you'll find me, because there's like no other people with it spelled that way. My SEO is because of that. Thanks, Mom. So when you think about collaborating in your business, I want you to think about, what's the primary goal you're hoping to achieve. If it's growth, if it's in any of those areas, you're trying to get promotion, great, keep that front and center. Then you need to think about, what are the asks that you have for partners and what are the gives? And very quickly, asks are all the things you need to get out of the partnership in order for it to feel successful. So if you're trying to grow your Facebook community, your ask needs to be, I need to get the link to my Facebook community in front of this audience. Like, that's my primary goal, right? Like, make sure people have a way to find me. Speaking of which, it is called the Collaboration Coalition. Look it up on Facebook. I'll add the link in at the end of the chat. But I would love to have you all join. It's a really beautiful community of people that are constantly asking questions and answering questions and helping each other and collaborate. Excuse me. So if that's your primary goal, make sure that that's what you're getting. So those are your asks. Your gives are everything you're willing and able and comfortable offering a partner. So the reason why I think it's really important to have both of those lists filled out, not just the first one, is that a lot of times entrepreneurs, especially in the beginning, are really nervous about a partner saying yes to them. Like, they just want to get that yes. So they'll often overpromise, or they'll say yes to anything that partner's asking for. And then at the end, they'll feel like, man, I only got this one thing, but like, they got so much more than I got. And that's what breeds a feeling of getting taken advantage of by a partner. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think if you come in strong and know, okay, this is definitely what I need to get in order to feel happy, and this is what I'm willing to offer, no more, no less, then I think you're in a good place. And even if you only walk away today knowing that, I think that'll be very helpful for you, because I can't tell you how many of my clients came to me never once sitting down to think, okay, this is what I actually want to get from this. They just go in excited to be there. They're just like, I don't really care. Oh, whatever you want to do. Oh. And then they feel screwed over. And that's not a good feeling. And it makes people not want to collaborate. And that's not at all what I want to happen. So have an idea of what it is that you need and what it is that you would like to have. If it's promotion, what kind of promotion? Where do you want it promoted? What link do you want them to send out on your behalf? Is it just your general website? Is it a downloadable? Is it a lead magnet of some kind? Is it a podcast? Is it a Facebook group? Whatever. Just know what it is specifically that you want them to promote. And then on the flip side, know exactly what you're willing to offer them. So if they say, well, I'm trying to get promotion too, how can you promote me? You don't have to say yes to every single channel that you have. You don't have to give them everything. The most important thing when collaborating with a partner is getting to an even value exchange. So value, what's valuable to somebody is incredibly personal to them. So just because you would love to get on somebody's podcast doesn't mean they want to be on your podcast. Like, that just might not be important to them and might not be something of value to them. So this is where having an open and honest conversation from the beginning with your potential partners comes into play. You want to make sure that you guys are laying everything out on the table, and I can say, hey, thank you so much for asking me to be part of this conference. I would love to. Here's what I need to get in order for it to feel successful to me. It's really important right now that I send people to my Facebook group, because that's the primary place where I'm engaging with my community. And if Rochelle would have been like, no, sorry, we're not promoting our speakers. Like, we're not putting any links anywhere. We're not going to tag you on Instagram. We're not going to link to your website. Then I would have been like, okay, well, I think this might not quite be the right fit this time, but thank you so much for asking. I appreciate it. Good luck. I'll join in. So I think that's important to remember going into it, is you do need to make sure that it is an even value exchange for both of you so that everybody feels really good about it. And then finally, talking about how to find good partners, because that's always the next question. Look around you. Like, look to your first degree circles, the communities that you're already a part of, the Facebook groups you're already a member of, the podcasts you listen to, the networking groups you're part of. People who you already have a relationship with are the perfect potential first partners, because the stakes are really low, the barriers to entry to do a collaboration are very low, and the risks are just not there, right? If you can just do it as an experiment, I like to call them test and learns, things tend to go so much smoother, because you guys can just be real with each other. You can be honest along the way. You can say, hey, is this working? Do we need to tweak something? Like, it can be as simple as doing an Instagram live together, or a Facebook live together, or co-writing a blog post, or co-creating a downloadable. It doesn't have to be crazy. It just has to be something that you think each of your audiences will actually enjoy and be interested in. So look to your immediate circles, ask your friends, ask your coworkers, or ask your the people that you are in entrepreneurship groups with, or anything like that. It's a great place to start. And then finally, before I answer some of these questions, and already we have 10 minutes left, I don't know how this happened. The most important piece when looking for potential partners is making sure that you share an overlapping mission. So why are you both doing what you do? Is it to help people? Is it to innovate? Is it to educate? Like, what's the big picture goal that you both share? Overlapping vibe. So how do you communicate what you do in your company? It's always weird when a very buttoned up, say, corporate company partners with like a startup who's really fast and loose and maybe drops some F-bombs in their copy. Like, that's not a good vibe overlap. You want to make sure that the way you communicate what you do and how you talk to your communities is somewhat similar, so that when you do something together, it doesn't feel weird to the people receiving it. And then the third thing is audience. You want to make sure that you share an audience. Otherwise, what are you doing there? Like, they need to be your potential customers. Otherwise, there's no point in you talking to them and getting in front of them. So overlapping mission, vibe, and audience are so crucial to whether a partner is going to be a good one or not. So that's very important. So align your goals to a collaboration opportunity. Make sure that you know your asks and your gives. Look around you for potential partners. Look for that overlapping mission, vibe, and audience. And always, always, always aim for an even value exchange. The end. Just kidding. All right, let's see what these questions say. So what are some general categories of things we can give, especially when we're starting out or pivoting and may feel like we have more to ask than give? Excellent question, Alexis. This is one that comes up constantly. You always have something to offer. Now, that doesn't mean that the partner is going to want what you have to offer. And that's what goes back to that, like having a conversation and saying, what is valuable to you? The way that I frame that with partners is I like to say, tell me what you're focusing on in the coming quarter. Like, where is your head at right now? Like, what are the goals that you're actively trying to achieve, and how can I be of service? So for example, if you're brand new and you have an email list of 2, your mom and your dad, and that's it, and your social following is basically, your friends from college, that's okay. But your give is probably not going to be promotion, right? This is where expertise for exposure as a give is perfect for brand new entrepreneurs or people pivoting, because you as a human being, whatever business it is that you're starting, you clearly have expertise in that space. And if you don't, what are you doing, right? Like, where do you get off starting a business around something that you know nothing about? So that's where that strategy came from. It came from my clients who were just starting out. They had no following. They had no community built yet, but they had themselves, and they had their knowledge and their experience and their narrative. So that's where you can promote yourself as a thought leader, as an expert in your space. So for me, most of the time, my partners are not looking for promotion from me for their product. They're looking for content from me as an individual, as an entrepreneur. So my give in the majority of my collaborations is me, and it's my knowledge, and it's my time. And that is incredibly valuable. And here's the thing, if they're only looking for promotion, you're not the right fit as a partner for them right now. And that's fine. That is not to say that you won't be down the line, but for now, you need to make sure that they're getting what they need and you're giving what you can give. And if those two things don't align, that's all right. Stay in touch. I love being like, okay, it sounds like we're not quite aligned right now, but why don't we circle back around? I don't say circle back around. I would never do that. But I would say, why don't we touch base in like 6 months, maybe 6 to 8 months, and see where we both are at that point. But great to talk with you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. So it's never a full out no. I think it can just be a not right now. Other than expertise for exposure, I mean, content is the biggest give that anybody can offer, no matter whether they started today or 10 years ago. So that's the number one thing. Another big give that people can offer is hookups. So if you are, let's say, a coach or a consultant of some kind, and you have zero following, you still have your knowledge on whatever that topic is that you can offer as content. And you do have the ability to offer some kind of hookup or discount or early bird special or bonus on your service. If you're a product provider, you have the ability to offer discounts or bonuses or whatever on your product. If you're an event coordinator or a community organizer, there is a version for those too. So the 4 main categories of asks and gives are promotion, content, hookups, and barter. So we've covered promotion and content. That's hookups right there. And barter can be, Alexis, if you're pivoting from, let's say, graphic design, that was your first career. You've done graphic design for the past 5-10 years, and now you're switching into event management. You can always still offer up your past skills because they're not going anywhere. Just because you're pivoting, it doesn't mean you don't still own those abilities, and you can always offer those. So one of my first clients many years ago was a former graphic designer that was pivoting into motherhood photography. So a lot of the partnerships we were working on for her were with like baby stores, so like baby gear stores, things like that, because they had her target customer and she had something that they wanted in the form of photography. But most baby stores were like, I mean, sure, I could use new pictures of my space, whatever, but like, what else am I getting from you? So we started offering up her past life, her past skill set as a graphic designer as a barter. So for a lot of these stores, their websites were trash. And what she would say was, in exchange for promoting me as a registry item for these women as they're making their registries for their babies, or for having me come in for in-store events and be the photographer and doing special motherhood sessions with your customers, I will take a look at your website and help you redesign it. And I think a very important thing to think about when you're bartering is making sure you know the monetary value of the time and service you're offering, so that, again, you can get to that even value exchange. You can make sure that you're not giving them way more than you're getting from them, and vice versa. You want to make sure that they're getting what they need so that they don't feel screwed over by you. So with bartering, just make sure that you have a good handle on what time and dollar figure is attached to what it is that you're offering them as a service, and then get it in writing. Make sure that you're both good with that exchange. Same with hookups. One thing that I want to mention with offering bonuses or discounts or any kind of hookup or anything like that is make sure you're comfortable with what it is that you're discounting. I see people way too often discount way too heavily, and then it ends up not even being worth it for them at the end of the day, right? Like if they're discounting by 50%, like they're losing money on the thing that people are using that discount code on. So you really just have to run the numbers and make sure that what it is that you're offering is okay with you. And again, that goes back to making sure your asks list and your gives list are both very solid before you have the conversation, so that you don't get wrapped up in the moment and give way more than you mean to and forget to ask for what it is that you actually need. Cool. Glad you like that, Alexis. Anybody else have any questions that I didn't cover today or any clarifications? I am here. Pick my brain. I want to be helpful. And otherwise, this is the first time I've ever wrapped up early, so it's a big day. And actually, while we're here, I will go, oh, and thank you for putting my offerings in there. So before we take off, I will add in my Facebook group link here.
Baily, I am curious to hear more about your podcast.
Oh, Stop, Collaborate, and Listen?
Yeah.
So my season one, which wrapped at the end of last year, um, season one was basically all focused on interviewing people who have leveraged collaboration as a marketing strategy. So I did 40 interviews with tons of different people. I mean, co-founders, creatives, photographers, authors, like you name it. And essentially, the whole point of the podcast is to help the listeners see what collaboration looks like in real life. So, not just talking about it, not just hashtagging collaboration over competition, which we see left and right. It's really designed so that people can hear real world examples of what collaboration in action really looks like. So, highly recommend you go take a listen. I actually just recently split up all of the episodes into playlists on Spotify. So if you go to my Instagram, which I will put the link to in the chat as well, in my highlights, my saved highlights, I have all of the different playlists. So if you go to the Highlight podcast, you'll see in there, I have a playlist for service-based businesses, product-based businesses, co-founder conversations, communities, events, collaboration wisdom. I have all of these different categories because there are so many episodes that dive into those specific topics. So if you're like, all right, I'm an event producer, how can I use collaboration to get more people at my events? Go find that playlist because I have pulled out all the people that run events and specifically use collaboration to help achieve their goals for events. Same with co-founders. If you're like, I'm thinking about starting a business, I want a co-founder, maybe I don't know. I have so many conversations. That might be the biggest list with co-founders who are talking about like, what makes for a good partnership in a business? Like, what are the pitfalls? What are the lessons learned? What are the best practices? So definitely go take a listen.
Awesome. I definitely will. This has been so helpful. I know everyone in the chat agrees. And to myself personally, I have a business that's um, based on a lot of partnerships and collaboration. And I think you have such a unique perspective on all of it. That's really opened my eyes to so many thoughts. I feel like I'll probably have questions for you later on, but I'm just
here.
absorbing, absorbing right now. But yeah, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. But in the meantime, I'll kind of go ahead and wrap up. And just thank you again, Baily, for everything. This was
You're
so
so
wonderful.
welcome.
And it was so nice to meet you. And then thank you to everyone who participated today. And that's in Start From Scratch Summit. We're so glad to have you all here, and I hope you continue to tune into all of the other sessions. Just a few reminders that if you aren't able to see all of the sessions you wanted to today, that we are still offering the $30 ticket where you can view the recorded sessions for 30 days, which I think is so awesome. And you can take notes and get the workbook and really just dive into all of this goodness. But yeah, I guess that's all we have for today. And yeah, thank you again.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of today. I'm excited to take off my speaker cap and put on my attendee cap now. I'm going to go fill up my coffee and take it all in. So I hope to see some of you in the Facebook group. And please, if you have any follow-up questions, I'm very easy to get a hold of on all the platforms.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.